Leicester City 3, Liverpool 1. The Reds capitulate once again. This time it's at the King Power, not at Anfield. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know where to start with this one. We're going to go through the game. We're going to talk through the goals. First hour, from my point of view, everything looked okay. I thought that we were controlling the game. We were doing well. And we concede one goal, and then we all fall apart. And look, I'm joined by Jack Gill, as you can see, for a reaction to this one. And Jack, I know we were talking, mate, before we went live, but I'm going to use the word again, mate. And I don't mean this to sound harsh, but that was a disgrace.
Yeah, well, I said to you, I'm pretty speechless, Craig, because, you know, the first half, the first 15, 20 minutes of the second half, the game was ours. You know, we dominated the ball. Leicester looked dangerous a couple of times on the break. Obviously, Vardy hit the woodwork in the first half. They had a couple of opportunities, but we were in control. There was a piece of brilliance from Bobby Firmino, and a lovely finish from Salah. Though it's a bit unconventional, it was a nice finish. And then we just watched them capitulate before our eyes, and it's happening too often. It's embarrassing. And you know what? We spent so long, Craig, backing these players, saying that they're world class, making excuses about injuries, making excuses about them being tired and the levels they've performed at over the last few years. But these players need to take a look at themselves and stand up for their fucking performances, and, you know, take a bit of pride in themselves and their performances, because at the minute it is just not good enough. There is too many players on the pitch that aren't performing the way they should, and aren't performing the way that you should to be a Liverpool player right now. And you know, it was just embarrassing once again, Craig.
It's so difficult, man. I said in my commentary, they've turned from mentality monsters into mentality munchkins, and I couldn't think of anything else to say at the time. But for a team that's known for their mental stability, their mental strength over the past 3 and 4 years, you're right. We've defended them to an extent where we could. We've taken into allowances for tiredness, for mental fatigue, for all the pressing that we've had to do over the years. But there's no excusing Alisson again for that second goal. People are going to talk about Kabak, but we talked about this off camera as well. I'm a goalkeeper. If I'm coming for that, I'm screaming to let my centre-back know, get out of the way, my ball. Kabak had eyes for the ball, and then all of a sudden Alisson came out of nowhere and basically assaults his own centre-back.
Yeah, I think it's completely Alisson's fault. You know, I think Kabak deals with that easily, but Alisson's rushed off his line, and once he's committed, he ain't going back. Kabak's looking at the ball the whole time. It's his ball. It's easy for Kabak. Alisson didn't need to do it, but he's committed, and he's created that mess. And once that's happened, it's easy for Jamie Vardy. But you know, Craig, I'm sick of talking about errors and individual performances and stuff like that, because it's not common for Liverpool, and right now what we're watching, what we're seeing week in, week out, doesn't feel like Liverpool over the last few years, because it's the same team. Nothing's changed. We've had injuries, but we can't use that as an excuse. Most of the players on the pitch are exactly the same that we've seen put in world-class performances game after game after game for the last few years. And right now, they're just not performing well enough, and we don't have the manpower in the squad to put pressure on the players that aren't performing well enough to fight for their places, because well, we saw from our bench today, we're down to the bare bones. Thiago's not trained all week. He was our first substitute when Milner gets injured. It's just the worst thing here is, Craig, I can't see it getting better. I really can't right now. We've got games coming thick and fast. We've got Leipzig on Tuesday in the Champions League, which some people, by the way, are still saying, oh, we need to focus on that. We ain't winning shite. You know, the way we're playing at the minute, there is absolutely no way that we will win the Champions League this season. There are so many better teams in Europe than us right now. The ever playing better than us right now. So, you know, it's going to be very difficult from here on in, and, you know, one of them where I think we said before this about being out, you know, last week against City about being out the title race, but we're in a real race for the top 4 now, and it's going to be incredibly difficult for us to get back into that top 4.
You know what, Jack? I'm absolutely fucking sick of hearing the players talking the right things and saying they've had their meetings at Kirby and they've spoken up and they've had clear the air meetings. That was still dog shit. We were great up until we conceded. And then, like we've accused other teams of in the past, we absolutely just fell apart, and there was no leadership. There was nobody to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and settle the lads down. Even when we conceded the second goal, we still had time to get a draw out of that game. And once again, we fell apart. Kabak was out of position on the third goal. Too much space for Harvey Barnes. We know how good of a footballer Harvey Barnes is. And I'm looking at Klopp in his post-match interview now, and I can see the heartbreak in the man's face. I can see it written all over him. That after what he's been through, and the week where it was announced that Klopp's mother had passed, we expected these lads to go out and battle and fight. And as you said rightly, for an hour, we looked like we were going in the right direction. But once the pressure came on, once the equaliser came, we shit the bed yet again.
There's just too many poor performances on the pitch, Craig, and we saw us dominate the ball for ages. We controlled the game, and our front three, I think, in the first half, they were just missing the final ball every time. We created loads of openings, but the last pass wasn't there. We didn't get luck wasn't on our side. Schmeichel made an excellent save in that first half. And then the second half, defensively, we capitulate. Alisson makes the mistake for the second goal, as you say. Kabak's positionally poor for the third, and Trent as well. I don't know what he was doing. And Thiago, I think, when he came off the bench, he was poor. And we spoke on the podcast about Thiago the other day and said, "Oh, he's just adapting. It's just this. It's just that." I can't make excuses anymore. If you were a world-class player, you can adjust rapidly to any fucking league. And Thiago's not doing that. He's not doing that. And you know what? If we had all our players, all our midfielders fit right now, Thiago would be dropped in a heartbeat. He really would, because he's not performing well enough when he's on the pitch. And it's all right saying, no, it's fine. Thiago's a world-class player. He'll recover. I'm not seeing it from him right now. I'm not seeing it. So, it's one of them. It's very, very difficult to understand what's going on at the minute, Craig, because as I said, most of that game we controlled proceedings, we dominated, we've just not been able to find openings, and then we are the cause of our own errors over and over again at the minute. It was the same against City, it was the same today. We're looking very Arsenal.
Do you know what pisses me off? We have defended Thiago, and we've tried to find not excuses, but reasons for why maybe he has made. He was dog shit, as you said today. He gave the ball away 3 times in the first 10 minutes. I think he was on the pitch, trying things in our own half, trying little drag backs and step overs in our own half, getting dispossessed. I wanted to pull this question up, and thank you for the super chat, mate. Said might be a bit of a reach, but Klopp's success finally catching up on him. It happened at Dortmund, where it began to capitulate in the end. Do you know what? I don't think this is on the manager, and I'm not looking for a get-out-of-jail-free card. I think there is something to this. Players can only reach this level for so long before burnout happens, and it needs freshening up. But Klopp can only do as much as he can and motivate as much as he can, and things do naturally get stale, Jack. That there is some truth to what that gentleman has said there. But from our point of view as a club, if we can get it together, and if we can get top 4 this season, we do need to do something in the summer, because it's going to take an awful lot, mate, an awful lot for me to turn on this manager. And I mean an awful lot, and I'm nowhere near there yet.
Yeah, he's the last man I blame for this. As I said, as far as I'm concerned, the players need to take a long, hard look at themselves, and that's what's letting us down at the minute, the players. It's not the shape, it's not the system. Yes, we've had bad luck with injuries, but the players that are on the pitch week in, week out at the minute have to take a long, hard look at themselves, because the performance isn't good enough. And I saw better things from certain players today. I think Sadio Mane stepped it up again and was a bit better. Firmino was better in flashes. Trent, some of his passes were a lot better today than we've seen recently. Robbo as well, I think, going forwards looked a lot better today. But it's not good enough to show flashes. And as I said, there still weren't things clicking. The final ball wasn't there. It still doesn't look right. It's looking disjointed. It's looking, as I said earlier, it's not looking like Liverpool. It's not looking like what we've got used to seeing under Jurgen Klopp. But yeah, Jurgen's the last man I blame, because he's doing everything he can. Nothing's changed. I think it's a mixture of the players' performances and not freshening up the squad enough over the last few years, and not giving us enough good squad options to compete with our world-class talent.
What really pisses me off today, Jack, is we got the opening goal, a goal that should have filled us full of confidence. It was a wonderful move. Bobby Firmino looked back to his best with a little drag back for Mo. First time finish, left foot Mo Salah, and everything looked rosy in the garden. We even get away with a potential penalty, and so it was the right call, by the way. It was outside the box, but to get away with that and then to not be switched on again from the set piece and allow Leicester City to play onside and to get their goal, it's I'm lost, man. I want to curse and scream and use words that I can't use on a camera, but how can that happen? And what the hell is Alisson doing?
Our game management today was absolutely diabolical. Last season, the season before, we'd have gone 1-0 up. We'd have defended really well. We'd have seen out the game. We'd have controlled the game. We'd have looked outstanding. But today, we've thrown 3 needless goals away. Thiago makes a silly challenge on the edge of his own box. It's not needed. He just dangles a leg
again.
out.
By the way, let's add again to that, because the amount of rash challenges he's made since he's come in have been ridiculous.
Again, and then you have that second goal where Alisson comes flying out and seems to have lost his voice. The third one, where players have lost their heads because of what's happened in the last 3 minutes, and positionally they're all over the shop. It's just, we're creating our own issues time and time again, Craig, and it's just not good enough from Liverpool right now. And as I say, they need to pull their fingers out their arses, and they need to do it quickly, because otherwise we're going to play in that crappy new UEFA Conference Cup or whatever it's called.
If you're a Julian Nagelsmann now and you're Leipzig, you're sitting and watching this game going, score first. Go out all guns blazing on Tuesday, get at them, score first, and we know that from past 2 games they'll capitulate. And you know what? Usually I'll sit here and say, nah, but I can't do that. I can't defend this anymore, mate. I mean, I'm not one for throwing anybody under the bus. I don't like that type of attitude, but I'm also a realist. And I can't come on, and you haven't come on and been able to try and defend what happened there. We can talk well about the first hour, but you really learn a lot about players, and we've learned a lot about this group when their backs have been against the wall. Whatever has happened, whether it be the loss of certain players from the dressing room, whether it be a loss of real leadership, whether it be the manager's words not motivating as much as they used to or resonating as much, or whether I don't know, maybe a few of them do think they're big-time Charlies these days. I don't know. But whatever the reason is, we need to be ruthless, and the Klopp needs to be backed by FSG, and we need to be ruthless. Like, you cannot live off reputations anymore, Jack. We have to just get the players who want to die for that shirt and have what it takes to wear the Liverpool shirt.
That's the thing, Craig. I'm absolutely sick of excuses. Leicester are a team hit by injuries. We've seen them today. They're without a few of their very, very good players. They've been without Vardy the last few weeks. They're still in a very, very strong position. And I'm sick of saying, oh, we've got loads of injuries. We're missing Virgil van Dijk. We're doing this. We can't keep using them as excuses. Of course we're missing Virgil van Dijk. He's a quality player, but there is so much wrong with everything else about Liverpool at the moment, and we can't keep using the excuses. And you're absolutely right. Julian Nagelsmann, Leipzig, they'll be rubbing their hands together. They're playing us at the perfect time as far as they're concerned. We look a mess, and we need to turn it around very, very quickly, because, as I say, if we don't, we're going to be playing outside the Champions League next season. And we can talk about FSG putting their hands in their pockets, but players like Mo Salah, players like Virgil van Dijk, the world-class talent we do have, how are we going to keep hold of them without Champions League football? Because, Mo Salah has already sort of dropped hints earlier on in the season about Real Madrid and other things. If we don't have Champions League football, what's going to keep him here?
I can see loads of comments, and look, as you expect with a loss, there are obviously opposition fans in bantering us, and that sounds, some of it a bit too far, some of it not. But the one thing that I've accused other clubs of that we are right now is Banter FC, and that's a fair title for opposition fans to come in now and call us Banter FC. We've earned that, mate. We've earned that over the last few months, and it kills me to say it, but I mean, I cannot. It's irrational to even try and come on here and defend a capitulation like that. I haven't heard what Klopp has had to say, but I would like him to be scathing in his assessment, because yes, you want a manager to defend his players, but I also like a manager to come out and call it like it is. Klopp, when he came in, told the fans not to be leaving the stadium early, stay till the 90th minute, back the boys, believe in the boys. To the fans responded, did that. The results started to come. But, I mean, I'm looking at this goal now. Right now, I'm looking at Kabak and Alisson, and Alisson is just... Kabak only has eyes for the ball. He doesn't see Alisson coming from anywhere. It is 100% Alisson's fault. And it is, I don't even know how to address what's happened. I mean, we got to give credit to Leicester, by the way. We always do this when we do our post-match. It's not their fault we capitulated. They smelled blood and they went for it, Jack, and they got the win.
Yeah, well, yeah. You know, their game plan worked because they let us control most of the game, and we've come away with red faces and 0 points, and they come away with a very strong 5 minutes and 3 goals and 3 points. You know, it's as simple as that. For Leicester, it worked perfectly today, and you know, there'll be things about Alisson and having cold feet again on what is a very, very cold day. But you know, I'm sick of, as I say, I'm sick of excuses, Craig. We're just not good enough at the moment, and I was hoping for today to see a turnaround, to be an important day for us, and us get 3 points on the way to securing top 4 this season, going ahead into the Leipzig game on Tuesday, the Merseyside derby next week. But once again, it's yet another setback. And we go into Leipzig on Tuesday, a new competition in a poor run of form. We've got the derby next week. Things aren't getting easier for us. And, you know, as I say, the only people that are going to turn around this is the players itself. There can't be any excuses anymore. We can't say about players that aren't on the pitch or you know, fans not in the stadium. We have to take accountability, and the players need to look at themselves and go, you know what, we're the 11 on the pitch. We need to pull our fingers out our asses right now and get ourselves back out of gear 1, because everything's looking half-arsed at the minute as well, Craig. You know, we attack and defend with absolutely no conviction whatsoever. And we just look a shadow of ourselves over the last few years, and things need to change and fast.
What I don't want to see, by the way, is players out on social media saying we know what we did wrong, but just fuck off and just put it right. It's as simple as that. Just stay off social media, get yourselves together in that change room and pull your fingers out, as you said a minute ago, because if there's one game next week that is probably coming at the right time in one way, it's the derby, because we'll learn a lot from that match, Jack. If they cannot pull themselves together and get ready for that match, then this group needs tearing apart in the summer.
Well, we said before, Craig, you know, we're going to have lots of opposition fans in the comments and stuff. It's going to be a tough week. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be a tough rest of the season, because this Liverpool side will drop points as the season goes on as well, the way we're playing. And we are going to get stuff from opposition fans, and the players are going to be feeling poor, but they need to turn it around. They have to turn it around. And you know, games are coming thick and fast. We've got Leipzig on Tuesday. Pick up the win in the Champions League. Go to Anfield against Everton at the weekend, and you know, we need to show revenge. Not only did they take a couple points off us earlier on in the season, but you know what happened in that game. We need to go there and get 3 points. They're a rival for top 4, and you know what, Craig, Everton finishing above us this season would be extremely hard to take, and I think the players and everyone will be well up for next week, and that's where it needs to start. That's where we need to turn this shit around, because it needs to happen very quickly, and the players, as I say, they need to look at themselves and take accountability.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how we're going to salvage this season, the Premier League campaign. Whatever about maybe making an argument for, you know, traveling to Europe, a fresh distraction or whatever, but go on.
The players are paid millions, thousands and millions of pounds to work out what to do. You know, it shouldn't be for us or the pundits to analyse what is going wrong with Liverpool at the minute, and we'll see loads of that this week. We'll see loads of articles titled "What's Going Wrong at Liverpool." It's not our job. It starts with the players. They look at themselves. It starts with the coaching staff. They look at what's going wrong and they fucking sort it out, because that's what's needed right now. And I'm sick of us looking at our screens and going, "Oh, what's going wrong? Oh, we've got injuries. Oh, we've got this. Oh, there's no fans in stadiums." We need that motivation. They need the fans. They're footballers. They earn a lot of fucking money, and it needs to be better than this. It's as simple as that.
What baffles me is they will have access to sports psychologists. They will have access to every video and every analytical clip of every mistake they've made. It would have been talked through 100 times. And if you're Alisson today, who had made some good saves in the first half, by the way, done some good stuff, and had a similar clearance, by the way, that did come off in the first half, you just play safe today, mate. You do your stuff between the sticks. You don't make any unnecessary risks. And he is a world-class goalkeeper, and I'm not going to hear of anybody saying different. But again, we cannot defend what he's done in the past 2 games. And how do you address this? How, if you're Jurgen Klopp, if you're John Achterberg, if you're Pep Linders right now, what do you say to Alisson? Because I've got to be honest with you, mate. My first instinct is to say, Queeveen, get your kit on, fella. Because, you know, you can accept it once, you can accept it happening even twice in one game, saying his head's gone, but his head's clearly gone again.
Oh, it's tough because, you know, if I guarantee you right now, if it was Mignolet, if it was Karius, we wouldn't be making these excuses that we're making. But, you know, Alisson, though he made that mistake for the second goal, he made a world-class double save just seconds later. And you know, it's one of them situations where it doesn't redeem his error. But we spoke last week about when a goalkeeper makes a mistake, Craig, you know, it's felt more than if anyone else makes a mistake. You know, Salah in the first half made a couple of mistakes, not squaring the ball. He comes away with a goal, and you know, all is forgotten on that front. You know, there were a couple of occasions in the first half where he should have passed it on. I remember one where Trent was there and he was literally free. I don't know why Salah didn't pass it on. He took it too long, dribbled with the ball, and you know, I think it's one of them things. But Alisson makes a mistake, and he's felt the full force of it with obviously Leicester scoring from it. But after that, he made as I say, it was a world class double save that. But yeah, it's an interesting point because, as I say, if it was Mignolet, if it was Karius, if it was Adrian, I'm sure everyone would be going, yeah, drop him right now.
There's a question here. So Klopp is at fault for not building any defensive depth before the injuries. Now, I'm not going to be a hypocrite on this, mate. At the time when we didn't replace Dejan Lovren in the summer, I came on and I remember what I said. I said it's a risk worth taking if we bring in Thiago and Diogo Jota, because we have Fabinho that can cover at centre-back and we still have 3 fit senior centre-backs. There is an argument and a valid point to be made. I mean, we talked about Roy Keane during the week, saying that this you know, Liverpool team are soft, Liverpool team are the worst, or terrible defending champions, whatever he said. But one thing that can't be argued about what United fans have said is United probably wouldn't have left themselves in that position. Even worst case scenario, they probably would have had 4 senior fit centre-backs. So we did take a risk. It has bitten us in the arse, and my God, are we paying for it, mate? My God, are we paying for it?
It's absolutely bitten us in the arse. You know, we weren't going to sign a midfielder, but Thiago came available. He was pretty much twerking for us in the summer, weren't he? And I think the club went, okay, we'll bring him in, and Fabinho can be our 4th choice at the back. We thought in bringing in Thiago, we were getting a world-class midfielder that would adapt quickly. You know, we saw him against Chelsea and in the Merseyside derby when his football was, you know, box of tissues by the side of your bed and baby oil. But right now from Thiago, since he's come back from injury, it's not been the same, and it's just not clicking today. He was awful when he came off the bench. I really, you know, he was really poor. But saying that, Craig, he's not trained all week, and you know, we shouldn't be in a position where after 20 minutes Milner's coming off injured and Thiago's the man going on. And look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. As I said, I don't want to use excuses today, but you know, it's one of those situations where hindsight is a wonderful thing, and we can look back and say, look, we didn't replace Lovren, we've put ourselves in these problems. But it was obvious to us as supporters that at the start of January, Liverpool needed to go into their pockets if they wanted to be anywhere near the title and sign a defender, at least one defender. But we waited until, you know, Fabinho picked up a knock, Matip was out for the rest of the season, deadline day came before we made the signings. And, you know, we had several defeats in January, and we dropped so many points that we were basically out of the title race by January, all but confirmed until last week. But, you know, it was so obvious to us then, and why wasn't it obvious to people at the club, like FSG and stuff like that, how desperate we were for a centre-back at the start of January. And I don't think you can pin that on Klopp, because at the end of the day, it's not his money to spend. You know, if the owners are telling him that there's no money there, what can Klopp do? He can only work with what he's got.
It's a fair point, and Klopp came out during that January window and said he needed a centre-back. He came out publicly and said it, and said that he was told there's no money there. And again, I think I've read somewhere that since we've won the Champions League, Jack, now this was before Harvey Elliott's tribunal fee, we were net spend of plus £1.2 million plus in profit for net spend, having won the Champions League And every Liverpool captain or player you've seen, and Roy Keane has a very good point on this, to be fair to him, when you are in a position of strength, you consolidate. Sir Alex Ferguson, I read an article yesterday, I think it was from James Pearce or somebody, it was a great article. They spoke about the fact that Sir Alex Ferguson brought in a psychologist, and the first thing the psychologist said to him was, never act like you're number one. Always act like you're number two. Always keep that hunger. And look, yes, we could make excuses about fatigue, but at the end of the day, it's been a pathetic title defence.
Yeah, it's one of them, Craig, isn't it? And we really are struggling at the minute. And as I said before, it's not for us fans to point out the reasons why, because there seems to be so many at the minute. And you know, I'm sure there'll be more meetings before the Champions League game on Tuesday. But as far as I'm concerned, we need a quick turnaround, and we need it now.
Philip Hunter said, Leicester 6 points ahead, United possibly 8, Everton could go level with us, Chelsea and West Ham could knock us down to 6th. We need to wake up. I feel like we've been saying this for a few weeks now, Jack, and you know, we all thought after those away wins against West Ham and Spurs that we turned the corner, and you look then ahead to the home games and we lost those, and then we travel away, start brilliantly today. I mean, I remember saying in the first half, yeah, I'm happy with that. Start to the second half again, we get the goal, and mate, I feel like we're just going over and over things here, and we should probably start to wrap it up. But I'm not going to lie, Jack. I'm extremely worried, mate. I'm very worried about just getting Champions League football next season at this point, let alone trying to mount any type of semi-defense of the title. I mean, third, fourth is probably the best we can hope for, and even at that, we're stretching. I'm clutching at straws here, mate.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough end to the season, and we're going to have to find a run of form. It's not going to be good enough to, you know, turn it around like we did against West Ham and Spurs, and then produce what we have in the last couple of weeks since. It needs to be consistent, good performances. Excuse me, and then you know, picking up 3 points after 3 points after 3 points, and you know, get the Liverpool that we've seen from the last couple of years back. But I'm like you, Craig. I'm incredibly worried for the rest of the season, because, as I said before, like right now, I can't see us turning this around because nothing seems to be going our way. The players aren't performing well enough, and quite simply, it's just not good enough at the moment. And you know, we've said loads today, and we spoke about FSG, and there's loads of people that we'll see over the next few days and weeks, Craig, that are FSG out. I am not FSG out. You know, I think they're doing brilliant things on a small net spend for this football club, but they do get things wrong. And you know, there has been last couple of transfer windows, there has been times where we looked and gone, we might regret not signing somebody there. And we've gone and done really well that season. But now is where we're feeling the effect of transfer windows gone by, where we've not signed players, we've not refreshed the squad, we've not brought players in to challenge people in certain positions, and we're feeling it now. We really are.
I couldn't agree more. I feel the same way. I think they've done a lot of positive things in the club, and I think this summer we need to start, I don't want to say breaking up this group, but certainly refreshing the group, and they need to be put on their toes. And I want to see a world-class attacking player brought in. I want to see another defender brought in. And I want to see, look, I'm not going to lie about it, I want to see Origi gone. I want to see Shaqiri gone. I want to see Matip gone. I want to see Adrian gone. I want to see as much wages as possible freed up to allow for any potential incomings. And look, I mean, as you said, mate, we're going around in circles here. We better pack it up and say our goodbyes. We'll be back. I mean, Jack, you're doing a game tomorrow on Mundo Sporto, I believe, if that's correct. Are you doing the United game?
I'll let you know, mate. I'm not sure yet.
Cool. I'm doing the game later on at 5:30 on Mundo Sporto today, folks. Look, there's no excuses from us. Congratulations to Leicester City. We have big problems, and we need to start putting them right. As always, thank you to Jack Gill for joining me. Thank you to you guys for watching. Bunker down, folks. It's going to be a difficult few days. Stay off social media as much as you can, because it ain't going to be pretty. And you know what? We deserve it. So look, I will chat to you soon. Thank you to Jack, and up the Reds.